All right, let's dive into a topic that every single homebuyer goes through, but honestly, very few people really get it. We're talking about the journey through escrow. Think of it as the secure, guided path that takes you from having an accepted offer to finally holding the keys to your new home. So, picture this. You've done it, you navigated the wild world of real estate, you found the place, and the seller said yes. It's an incredible feeling, right? But it's usually followed like 5 seconds later by this thought, oh my gosh, what happens now? And that is exactly where our story begins. So that next step, that next stage of your big adventure is entering escrow. I know it sounds like this big, scary, official term, but it's really just a system that's designed to protect everybody. We're talking you, the seller, even the bank. It's the safe road forward.
So what is it exactly? Well, at its heart, escrow is basically a neutral third party. Think of them as an impartial referee in the middle of the game. They hold on to all the super important stuff. The money, the deed, all of it. And they don't let go of anything until every single promise in that contract has been kept. It's their job to make sure you don't get the keys until the money is there, and the seller doesn't get the money until the property is officially yours. And for an escrow to even be legit, it has to be built on these 3 pillars. You absolutely have to have signed instructions that make a binding contract. You need that neutral third party we just talked about, the escrow company. And crucially, the delivery of the money and the documents is conditional, meaning it only happens if all the rules are followed. These aren't just suggestions, they're the bedrock of a fair and secure deal.
Now, the good news is you are not doing this alone, not at all. You're going to have a whole team of pros guiding you. And it's really helpful to know who's who and what they actually do. You're going to be working with 2 main people here. First, there's the transaction coordinator, or TC. They're on your side working with your agent to organize all the paperwork and just make sure everything is lined up for a smooth closing. Then you have the escrow officer. Now they are the neutral referee. They don't work for the buyer or the seller. They work for the contract. Their only job is to follow the instructions to the letter and make sure all the rules are followed by everyone. Okay, so you get what escrow is, you know who your guides are, so let's pull out the map and look at the journey itself. How does this whole thing actually play out step by step? The whole process pretty much follows these 5 big milestones. It all kicks off when your signed contract gets delivered to the escrow company. That's called opening escrow. Then all the important reports get ordered, like checking the property's history. Once all the conditions are met, think inspections, loan approval, that kind of stuff, the money gets deposited. After that, get ready to sign your name a lot on the final papers. And then the best part, the new deed gets officially recorded, and just like that, you are the owner. The house is yours. And here's a pretty interesting little detail for you. By law, escrow companies have to save all the electronic records from your transaction. We're talking every bank statement, every instruction, everything, for at least 5 years. It's like a built-in time capsule of your home buying journey. You know what's kind of wild? The way this all works can actually change depending on where you live. In California, for example, there are some pretty big differences between North and South. Up in NorCal, it's usually the title insurance companies that handle escrow. But in SoCal, you'll often see independent escrow companies doing the job. It even changes who usually pays for certain things, like title insurance, typically the buyer in the north and the seller down south. All right, as you get closer to the end of this journey, you're going to need to get some protection for your new place. You got to think of insurance as your shield and armor against any unexpected trouble. So your first piece of protection is title insurance. Now, this is a little different from, say, car insurance, which protects you from things in the future. Title insurance is all about protecting you from the past. It's a shield against any old, hidden problems in the property's public record, things that could pop up and challenge your ownership years from now. So what does this shield actually block? Well, a standard policy in California protects you from some pretty scary stuff. We're talking about things like forgery or fraud in old paperwork, documents that weren't signed correctly in a past sale, or even finding out you don't have legal access to your own land. It's all about making sure the title you get is clean and clear. So if title insurance is the shield for your legal ownership, fire insurance is the armor for the actual house itself. Your lender is going to require this, and it's pretty straightforward. It protects the physical building from, you guessed it, fire and lightning. Okay, you have your team, you've got your map, you have your protection. We are so close. Let's talk about the final steps to that finish line, crossing the threshold and becoming a homeowner.
So one of the last jobs for the escrow officer is something called proration. I know, it's a fancy word, but all it means is fairly splitting up the bills. They calculate things like property taxes or mortgage interest right down to the exact day the house becomes yours. It just makes sure you only pay for the days you actually own the home. Simple as that. Now, this right here is something that trips up almost everyone. The closing date isn't the day you sit down with a pen and sign a giant stack of documents. The real closing date, the moment you are officially the owner, is the day the county recorder's office stamps that new deed and makes it official. That's the real finish line. So if you want to boil it all down, closing is the grand finale of this whole journey. It's that final act where all the signing is done, the official papers are transferred and recorded, and the money finally goes to the seller. It's the moment it all comes together. You know, escrow can really feel like this big, mysterious maze when you're starting out. But once you understand the path, and the players, and the rules of the road, it just becomes a clear, manageable journey. So with this map in your hand, I guess the only question left is, are you ready to start yours?